Hey guys, $100,000 quant. What do you think about it? Does that sound realistic to you? Meaning this year or even 5, 10, 20 years down the road? I'm very curious. I want to start the video off asking you to put down the comments below. Does a $100,000 quant eventually sound realistic to you? The reason why I'm asking is that this came up as a question for me. And actually, let me give you the exact question. This should take, I don't know, 10 or 15 seconds, depending on how slow I am to read. So the question or the comment was, hey, buddy, a lot of people think that Quant could go to 100,000. I don't think Quant will ever go that high. Who's going to pay that much? The institutions, banks, businesses aren't. They're not going to pay $1 million or $100,000 per quant to use Quant Network. It would actually be better for them if it were less expensive. Scarcity and utility, I feel like, will only take it so far. It's my biggest bag, but I gotta be realistic too. What do you think? So the first thing I think is that you're on the right track. At least I can say that because I'm agreeing with you, I suppose, right? Maybe it's a little biasy, but I agree with you for the most part, for a little over 50% of that, right? The first thing I want to tackle on this one is $100,000 quant to me is fucking nuts. Like, I just don't see how that's going to happen. And I'm a huge quant fee guy, right? I mean, quant is also my largest bag. I'm a huge fan. I really think it's going to be what runs at least the majority of Europe's CBDCs in the next 5 to 20 years. And I do mean most of Europe. Like the euro seems very likely. Come out of Europe for a second, but Latin America seems very likely. There's chances with the pound, small chance with French. There's a small chance or moderate chance with Japan. And this is all really early on before everyone's really jumping in and testing everything. But $100,000 guys, I don't see it. I don't see how it's ever going to get there. But there's a few clarifications as to why I think that versus this individual, and that's what I want to talk about predominantly in this video. So a couple of things, and then we'll probably get to the charts and all that fun stuff. But one, I'm not trying to FUD quant. I guess that was a whole couple of seconds of what I just went through. I just want to be realistic, and maybe I'm dead wrong. Fine. But this is where I'm sitting right now, right? 877. That is how many times at this moment, with quant being about $115, that it has to go from here, already being about a $1.4 billion market cap. It has to go 877x. 877x from here at a $1.4 billion market cap. That's really hard for me to see, at least any time in the near future. And I'm going up to about 20 years from now, in my opinion. All right. So let's go a little bit deeper into that because I really think that quant's going to do well. I think it's going to run a large part of the future of finance. But I hear outlandish numbers of people all the time, and there's just no effing way for a lot of them. Right. Let's anger a few people in a couple of seconds. Right. Like the XRP army. If you feel that XRP can hit $10 this cycle, I'm with you. If you think that XRP can hit $15 this cycle, there's going to have to be something huge to come out that's either really big in hype or a huge in real world use case, which probably also brings a lot of hype for that to happen. But I could hear an argument. For those that are saying XRP is going to hit $50 this cycle, you're in la la land, right? Just straight up la la land. I don't know what else to say on that one. That's as nice as I can put it. And I hear these things for crypto I own too, right? Like I hear H bar going to get to $10 this cycle. Really? You think about that? You really think so? I could see it eventually, but not this cycle. Bitcoin to $1 million this cycle. I'm not convinced Bitcoin's ever going to get to $1 million. I did a small video on that. I'll do another one sometime soon, I think. But there's got to be a certain sense of realism. And maybe for one of those, there's going to be something miraculous that happens and it does get there. And I'm dead wrong. Who knows? And I don't actually care, right? I just don't see it at all being realistic. the amount of money that's going to have to come through, especially for the ones that are this cycle, guys. Right. But regardless, Quant's going to do awesome. It's already picking up steam. And there's certain numbers I do realistically see it getting. But having that many zeros at the end of it without a decimal to separate it, I just don't see that. I just don't see it as being realistic. So what I do see is, again, what I realistically think right now with the information that we have at this moment, not what could happen, but with the information we have right now, I still see Quant around, that 5 to 700 ish dollar region. I know if I said 550 in one and 725 and another, guy's just very, it's around the range I can realistically see it happening. However, if it picks up officially the digital euro, I'll jump up my prediction, but that hasn't happened yet. Right? Or if it picks up multiple, it can go up. So there is a world of realism. I could see Quant hitting about $2,000 this cycle, meaning in the next, 3 to 9 months. Right? There would have to be full integration of multiple CBDCs and a lot of people actually recognizing it, which if the banks recognize it, then the governments and cross-border payments and all that fun stuff will happen too. And they've just recently done an overhaul upgrade over everything to make it work to do that even better than it was set up for. Like it's even better interoperability. There shouldn't have to be any middlemen. There's no reprogramming to do. They're kind of already doing it like, hey guys, we're ready. We're the only project actually physically capable and ready to do this, let alone they're being tested for the digital euro right now. So I think that's all but done, but I don't know when it's going to be official. I'm thinking November, but is what it is. I could see in the future, if meaning let's still keep this actually in the next 3 to 9 months, right? If there is a supply shock that happens with a couple CBDC announcements, which honestly, I think if there is one large or two or three small announcements like that, it will cause a supply shock. We are real close to that right now anyway. With the lacking amount of quant that is on exchanges, both for the market and over the counter, is getting kind of nuts. But with enough of that, yeah, they could jump this demand way over the supply for a short period of time, and people are going to sell off, right? Like it's only going to get so high before people start selling off. And Quant specifically is owned a lot more by not retail, right? It's owned by the people who are going to be using it. The banks, the corporations, businesses, et cetera, that are going to be doing cross-border payments and exchanging in different currencies like every hour, let alone every day. Right? Retail, not so much. But retail are the ones who are going to sell it for a profit. But we're the smaller amount of it. So that is going to keep the price going up. And that's really why, one of the many reasons why it tends to be stable, is that most of the people who buy it have no way of selling it, let alone plan to sell it. They're in wallets that only have quant, not even any Ethereum to move it in or out, which does play a good factor for going up to a certain extent. So 2000, I can see this cycle. In the near future, meaning next 5 to 20 years, I could see it getting to a $5,000 to $10,000 coin. That I can see. If it ends up being fully accepted for a couple of countries, yeah, and then with the use of how often it's being used to transfer quant back and forth, that I can see, but not this cycle. So one of the things I do disagree with this individual with is when they mention about it's going to be better for quant for the price to stay less expensive. And I see where you're coming from on this one, because to use quant, you have to spend a little quant. However, that amount you spend is not based upon how much quant is worth. What I mean is that if I'm a bank and I'm sending you $1 million worth of euros and we're converting it because you want it into pounds when you accept it, fine. Right? The amount of quant that has to be spent to do that transaction is based upon the size of the transaction, that $1 million. And that's going to be the same price that's worth, whether quant is worth $100, $1,000, or $1 million. It just might be more or less of a quant to equate to the amount that's needed to pay the gas fee, so to speak. Don't correct me. I know it's not a gas fee. Easiest way to explain it. But that's how it's dictated, is the amount of the transfer, not how much is Quant worth. So it's not going to actually make a damn difference to those who own Quant if it goes up, other than actually they'll be using less of a Quant for the more that it's worth because it's worth more US dollars or any type of fiat you want to put it as. So hopefully that made sense to you because the more often they use it, that will raise the price because then there's going to be a higher TVL and people really like looking at trading volume for crypto, specifically professional investors. So I don't at all think it's going to hurt Quant to have it worth more. It, I think, is actually going to minimally help Quant to make it worth more. Uh, but that's my reasoning, my belief, and why I think that. And then ultimately, you made a very valid point with who's going to pay $100,000 for a Quant. At this minute, I can't imagine anybody. Again, this is if it happens at least in the next 5, 10, 15 years or so, because I think a lot of people are going to sell way before it even gets up there. I mean, we're going to need a lot more retail to hop in and willing to pay those high prices for Quant to get up that high. Because institutions, they only need so much. They could, I'm assuming they're doing this, is that they can estimate how much it's going to take for them per year use of Quant between inflows and outflows based off of how much they project they're going to have to transfer, from bank to country, and et cetera. It's not going to be exact, but they're going to have an estimate for it. So they should already kind of know how much, we'll say US dollar in this case, worth of Quant they're going to need for a year. And they'll make sure they have plenty of it because they'll end up just getting it, receiving it and using it. So we're going to need it for it to get anything close to, honestly, I think really around $3,000. We're going to need a lot more retail to come into it. But there's ways to do that, right? Large announcements get people excited. If Quant starts looking like down the road becoming the next Bitcoin, then sure, if people see it and believe it's going to be a storage of wealth like Bitcoin or like gold, then we've got a possibility here. I don't think that's going to happen. It could. I guess it could. I just don't think it will. Because for that to happen, one, people have to believe that the price is always going to go up. Right? And people don't even believe that with gold or Bitcoin right now. Just enough people believe that about gold. And it appears enough people are believing that about Bitcoin, but it's really too early to tell. An ETF and things like that, where there's going to be constant inflows or buying it could happen. But with the supply, I don't really know. However, let's briefly look at the chart. So just a quick look at the Quant of all time chart here on TradingView. So when we're floating right around $115.50. This has been great, guys. With everything that's been going on recently, most crypto have been going down, and Quant has been outperforming almost the entire market. When I looked, it's actually outperformed all of them in the top 100 in the last week. It's really one of the few that's just gone up with everything that's going on between or the biggest U.S. power couple having a little tissy fit and feud between Trump and Elon. I hope those two get along and don't break up. But it is what it is. People will forget before too long either way. But when looking at resistance and support lines, we're at one right now. Right? I did a video not too long ago I put out fib levels to get back to our all-time high of both around that 450 and the recent high, I'll call, of 2024 at 150. And we're sitting right there at a line of support. So where do we have to go next based off of what I think and believe? And I think and believe what I see on the chart. If we go right here around the $140, looks to be the next big one when we look at of all time chart, right? If we narrow in our focus a little bit, which maybe I'll do that momentarily, into like the last year, we might see different lines. It's why you got to take everything with a grain of salt, right? A different chart will give you slightly different thoughts and answers. Right here, yeah, around 135 to 140 seems to be where there's been a lot of both support and resistance lines throughout. If you guys, I don't know if you can see that too well there. Let me draw you the entire line for it. I went off by like 70 cents there. Hope you guys don't mind. But this lower blue line, look how close it is to multiple lines of support and resistance We got right there at 1 and 2, a little above that one. Yeah, 120, that's not close enough to me. Here's one. We get much closer to the time of 2023. Here we got two. Get back to last year. There's one right there. So the next big line I'm looking at is 140. And I think that once we bust out over about 125, it should be mostly clear skies. And again, if there's huge news of something, it can blast right up, right past 140. But that's the next big number I'm looking for. And if it goes under 105, then we're probably going a little bit into the hellhole for a little bit. But so there you guys go. I do not think Quant's going to hit $100,000, but also it shouldn't matter too much what the hell I think. It matters actually a lot more what you guys think because you're the majority. I'm one. So tell me in the comments below. How high do you think Quant can actually get this cycle? How high do you think it can get down the road? I'm interested in your guys' thoughts. Talk to me.